What's up, everybody? Dr. Rossi, shrinksandsneakers.com. So, 3 weeks ago, I know I'm a little late with this one, but I'm going to talk about it anyway because I think it's extremely relevant for psychiatry. But 3 weeks ago, there was an interview done with Jorge Masvidal, who's a UFC fighter in the welterweight division. He was going to be fighting for the welterweight title, and he went on Arial Helwani's show and he talked about depression. And so what caught my attention is not so much his you know stuff that he's done in the UFC or fighting, but specifically his talks about depression. And it was shocking a little bit to see this kind of talk coming from somebody who was in this position, is kind of seen as that, maybe one of the toughest guys on the planet, right? Here he is talking about a serious vulnerability and depression. So that's the part that really caught my attention. Now, I'm going to link up the video in the description below, and you can go to about 19 minutes into the interview where he talks for a few minutes about his bouts of depression and specifically how he handled those bouts of depression, and that's the part that I want to jump into in this video. So, taking a quote directly from his discussion and from his interview, he goes on to say that after his first title fight with Kamaru Usman, in which he lost a unanimous decision in, he said the whole plane ride home he just felt depressed, just completely down, like in the dumps. And this wasn't the first time he's been depressed. He went on to talk about having previous bouts of severe depression and feeling really low at points in his life, specifically when his career wasn't really going well and he wasn't really making the kind of money and getting the kind of resources he needed to support his family. So he mentioned, lack of resources, lack of career opportunities as some of the precipitating factors for his depression. But he does say, these were pretty severe bouts and he was pretty low at those times. So what did he do differently when he went home after the Kamaru Usman fight when he lost? He said the plane ride home, depressed, feeling terrible, eating all types of unhealthy food on the plane ride home. But he said the first thing he did when he got home to Miami was he started training right away. He went for an 8-mile bike ride. And not only did he go for the 8-mile bike ride, but he got himself right back into the gym, into training, utilizing exercise. So I think that is a very important and underutilized therapy for depression. And that is exercise, right? Lifestyle modification. So I talk a lot about lifestyle modification in psychiatry because I believe in it, and I believe it's very impactful in my patients' lives. And I believe if they're willing to do the necessary work that has to be done to change their lifestyle a little bit, that they can have profound effects in terms of how the medication works for them, in terms of how their depressive symptoms occur and how many episodes they have. It can really, really help in the long term. So when I'm talking about lifestyle modification, I'm talking about 3 or 4 things specifically. I'm talking about number 1, diet. Now, the most evidence in psychiatry for dietary modification for depression specifically is the Mediterranean diet. The Mediterranean diet seems to have a nice balance between plant-based eating as well as a little bit of meat-based products and fish and omega-3 fatty acids. So it's kind of a nice balance of all those things, and maybe not quite the plant-based diets that we're seeing promoted very heavily right now, but it has a lot of the similar properties and does have the best evidence in literature for reducing depression. So diet is one component. The other component is exercise, right? And that's what we're talking about here in this Jorge Masvidal interview. We were talking about him him exercising and using exercise. So exercise both aerobic and anaerobic, so meaning, running, jogging, walking, in the aerobic factors, along with things like lifting weights and resistance training. Both have been proven to help reduce depressive symptoms. So this is really, a powerful thing and a good thing to do. So he uses exercise. I usually say to my patients, what's your therapy? What is the thing you do for yourself to help you relieve some of those depressive symptoms? And for him, it's exercise, and I think it really should be something for a lot of other patients as well. The other 2 factors that go into lifestyle modification that I want to just mention here are stress reduction And that can come in a lot of different forms. Some people think the only way to reduce stress is to do like a mindfulness-based activity, such as meditation. I think that works for some people. I don't think that works for everybody. Not everybody can kind of get into mindfulness-based therapy. So it depends on the person a little bit. But there's other ways, obviously, of reducing stress besides just mindfulness-based, but that would be one example. The last thing would be sleep, right? We underestimate the value of quality sleep. As you get older, it becomes even more important, and it's very important in the younger population. So if you're dealing with child adolescent patients, sleep also is a huge issue and something that we want to really focus on and make sure that these kids are getting enough sleep. But it goes the same for adults. So if you focus in those 4 areas of lifestyle modification, you can find a lot of relief from your depressive symptoms. And if you're interested in more of those details, I have wrote extensively about those on the blog, and there's several articles where you can kind of go through and see some of the recommendations that I make to my patients. But often, for somebody who's having a lot of difficulty, somebody who's very depressed and just wants to get started on something, then I usually keep it really simple and say, just try to get out and take a walk for 20 minutes, right? Nothing complicated, nothing that requires special equipment or training, just simply moving your body. So if the person is very anhedonic, right, very low mood, difficulty sleeping, difficulty with motivation, right, you're going to want to start really, really basic. So the most basic way to start, I think, is just getting more movement incorporated into your daily life. So exercise is a great way to help lift depression. And I think in this, in this interview with Arial Helwani, Jorge really kind of, showed that that can be very powerful and sometimes can be as powerful as medication or other interventions like psychotherapy. So I think this is really cool that he's opening up and being vulnerable in this scenario. I think it's good that more athletes and people with prominent, social standing are able to talk about mental illness and how it affects them and how they deal with it, because it could help other people who are experiencing similar things. So if this helps you to get out there and go exercise and incorporate exercise into, treatment of patients or treatment of your own depression, then I think this is a very good thing. With that said, that concludes the video. If you guys have questions or comments, want to talk more about the interview, please drop them below, and please like and subscribe to the channel. We'll continue talking all things mental health.